and we'll go ahead and get started. Let me give you an overview of what we're covering today, because again, we have a day when we have quite a bit of content that we want to go through. So you should now be able to see my slides. What we're going to do is I'm going to cover just a couple of things, give you some comments on the stage 2 results. And then the primary topic for you to pay really close attention to is what Ellie's going to cover in terms of MATLAB and how to work with MATLAB data and how to put MATLAB data into plots, because you'll have a homework assignment which she'll explain to you where you're going to do that. You're going to create a plot with some data. Then we'll give you a couple of tips on how to approach stage 4, and you'll meet in your groups. Sign up for the time that you'll meet with one of the learning assistants and Ellie, and also start planning your next meetings with your group so that you can make sure you're well set for stage 5. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about the plan for next week. So a couple of things I want to say in terms of the project. Stage 3, all of you should be able to access your stage 3 results at this point. They're all in Canvas, and you have a PDF that goes through and gives the feedback. So there's 4 areas that I want to make sure I comment on here now. One is when you look at your 7-step problem statements, that first step where you identify what it is that you're going to calculate, it's much better if that is as specific and numeric as possible. So let me give you an example of that. So let's say that what you wrote was, how efficiently will the design below circulate air for a classroom? That one's a little bit difficult to understand. An improved version would be something like what I'm showing you here. For the room having the dimensions shown below, how many minutes are required to pass all of the air in the room through the UV sterilizer unit if the UV sterilizer unit can process 5 liters per minute? So you see how on the second one, there's a lot less ambiguity as to what you're going to calculate and what you need to do. That's what I recommend that you do to improve your problem statements. Then the next comment I want to make is that as we've mentioned in a number of occasions, drawings are different from diagrams. So what you should have where you describe your design idea, you're going to have a drawing. Where you identify what you're going to calculate, you should really have a diagram, and that diagram needs to have all of your variables, your dimensions, and your units on it. Next comment that I have is when you write your cost analysis, there's a recommended structure that I suggest that you use. Here is an example. This is from the one of the example 2018 stage 5 reports that you can see on Canvas. And you can see how there's a table that basically identifies the units, the quantity, the cost per unit, and therefore the cost for the quantity, totals everything, includes assumptions, includes the sources, which you could either just reference or you could and identify where it is in your list of references, but have some way to show that. And in this particular case, and in many of your cases also, the labor content is significant to the cost. And so you should include that as well with whatever the appropriate assumptions are. So those are 3 of the 4 things that I would make as general comments. The 4th one is that when you think about stage 4, which is a draft, and stage 5, which is your final submission, a good report is going to tell your story. So think about how you lay that out. And you may want to have an introduction in there. You may want to have some other things. Keeping to the structure that I've showed you that's in the assignment in terms of the order for the sections that you have, but you may have some other explanatory materials so that your report, if somebody picks it up, not only looks attractive and professional, but also for somebody who's not familiar with your topic can understand the story and can follow that particular story. Okay, so those are the things that I think are very important to remember. Before I turn it over to Ellie, who's going to now be working on MATLAB, what I'd like to do is to run a poll. So let me, we haven't done that in this class before, but it's a way of, that's a substitute way of doing things that we do with iClickers. So here is the question that I'd like for you to answer, which is, what is your comfort level with MATLAB so far? So, and you can see this now. You should be able to see the poll and identify which category you would put yourself in. And once you've all voted, I will show you the results. Okay, so we've had 41 votes so far. I just want to make sure we've got them all. And so let me show you those results. And you should now be able to see those results on your screen. So most of you are in the category that there's a lot of things to learn, but so far so good. So that's where we want to be. That's where we want to, that's the right place for us to be as we're going through this. If this is really challenging, or if this is, if you're not getting it, ask for help. So the learning assistants, some of you might have logged on a minute or so earlier, we were talking about this. The learning assistants have all been through this same problem that you have to do for Sunday night's homework. So if you get stuck on something, if something weird happens, they can help you, Ellie can help you, and I can help you as well. So we're there to walk you through this. The assignment will be a bit challenging if you've never done this before, but I think it will be very useful as well. So with that, let me turn it over to Ellie. And Ellie, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I'm getting it set up right now. I do have the chat window open. If you would like to interrupt with questions, I will be happy to answer them. I know coding really is a foreign language. Even if you are feeling confident in your abilities, you still are learning a completely new way of thought, and definitely ask for help. I want to echo Bert's suggestion. Ask for help as you're going through this. You don't have to learn it alone. But for today, we're going to talk about MATLAB and how to take actual data and turn it into a basic plot. But before I do that, there was some confusion. Oh, let me explain the slide first. Basically, the end goal of what we're doing today is we're going to have a basic CSV file, which CSV stands for comma separated value. And it's basically just a text file with 2 columns. And so we're going to learn how to read that into MATLAB. And then we're going to calculate things with that data. And then we are going to plot it. And since your homework over the weekend is to be making plots, this may be the first plot you make in MATLAB, which is super exciting. But before we do that, as I started to introduce, I wanted to talk a little bit about problem 3. And specifically, this question asked about asking us to redefine x to be from 1 to 999, equally spaced by 1. And I know there was some confusion on this, so let's go through it together. It gives you a hint that you should be changing 2 numbers. And considering that the snippet of the picture that he's talking about only has 2 lines of code, that limits the amount of numbers that we are expected to change. But let's think about exactly what it's asking us to change. It says to redefine the vector x. And the first question it's really asking is, do we need to redefine x with the constant spacing with that colon, or are we doing linear spacing with the function linspace? And so I want to pause, and if I want you to think about it. If you're confident in your answer, you can put it in the chat. But let's take a second to think about what exactly it's asking us to change and how for x. All right, looks like you guys are shy today. You are encouraged to use the chat, but what we are expected to do is to use constant spacing. And you can see that the question gives us that hint where it says equally spaced by 1. And so if you want to make sure your spacing is explicit, you will redefine x in the red text at the bottom. So you start at 1, your spacing is equal at 1, and your end number is 999. And so that is the first part of that problem. Now the second part of this problem is, now that you have your new x, how do you evaluate the function at a specific value of x? And this is something that probably wasn't clear enough in the textbook. I think this is the main area of confusion. Your homework question may have asked for different values of x. That's okay. For this one, we're doing x at 257. And so what we're going to do for this one is, after you have run your script and you have your function fun, you're going to want to look at that function. And since your x is equivalent to indices are like your address, that's that stuff that's in the parentheses, where you say fun 257, that 257 is an index. Your x is also the same number as its index. So in this special case, you can just type fun 257. You can either put it in your script and run it and it'll spit it out into the command window. You can either type it into the command window and it'll spit it out right below it. Or there's a third option where you can look at your workspace on the left, and then you can look at you can double click your fun array that has been generated by your script. It'll pop it up and you can actually scroll to 257. And so those are 3 different ways to actually check what your fun has calculated at a specific point. And so that's what we are expecting you to do for your homework. And if that is challenging, I encourage you to continue practicing that. Are there any questions before we move on to today's topic? I do have the chat window open. All right, seeing no questions, let's move on. All right, so today we are going to read in a CSV file, the comma separated file, and it is called fctemperatures.csv. I believe you should be able to find this on Canvas in your homework assignment. Is that true?
Yeah, and it's also, I sent it as an email this morning. So it was attached to an email announcement that I sent this morning. So you should be able to see it either as an announcement. And the Canvas assignment for Sunday is also open and available. So it's in all those places.
Perfect, thank you. And we actually do have some questions about the previous slides. Let me go back to it. The first question is, someone has checked to make sure all their code is correct, but the book said the number is wrong.
So I'll debug that one offline.
All right, thank you. And then our second question is, if we need extra help with this function, can you contact me or the LAs? Absolutely, I encourage you to do that. That goes out to everyone. Please ask for help. I am happy to, and I'm sure everyone you ask is going to be willing to help. All right, with that, let's move on to the data. For this, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint. I have walked through all the steps that we are going to go through today in these slides. That way, as you come back and look at them, you will be able to follow along and you'll be able to recreate it on your own when I'm not guiding it through with you. But for now, let's stop sharing the PowerPoint, and I'm going to open up my version of MATLAB, which may be slightly different than yours, but there should only be minor differences. All right. Now I'm using MATLAB Online, which has some limited capabilities, but for the most part, it should be equivalent. All right, now the first thing you're going to want to do is, if you have your MATLAB open, I encourage you to follow along with me. I know there can be some challenges if you have only one screen and things might be too tiny, but I encourage you to open it up and try to follow along with me. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to download our fctemperatures.csv file. I will give you a minute to work on that, and you are going to want to put it in your current folder. For me, that means uploading it because I'm using the online version. For you, that should mean moving it into the proper MATLAB folder. For downloading it, if you have your email open, you can see the email attachment of the .csv file. You will just want to click download. It should download into your downloads folder, regardless of your operating system. And then you can open up your file explorer, and then you can click and move it to the proper folder that you need. This will be outside of MATLAB. Is anyone here using MATLAB Online, or are you all using your virtual classroom?
Everyone should be on virtual classroom.
Okay. There are some questions on how to upload it to the virtual machine.
Copy and paste it from your desktop to the virtual classroom desktop. And once it's on the virtual classroom desktop, copy and paste it into the same place where you have the program file that you're going to be using. And those instructions are also there in the module for the assignment that you're doing on Sunday in case you have questions later. But it's a key thing to be able to do is to be able to copy and paste it into the right place, because otherwise MATLAB won't see it.
All right. Does that answer your questions? I know a few of you were having trouble. All right, seeing no feedback, I will assume that you were able to download the CSV file, move it to your desktop, copy it, paste it to your virtual machine desktop, or virtual classroom, excuse me. And then you were able to move it in your virtual classroom to the folder that you are using for MATLAB. And it should show up in your current folder on the left, like how mine has it. All right, assuming you have gotten all of those steps done, let's actually start working with it. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to click a new script, and we're going to want to do our headers. And so my header is going to be Fort Collins temperatures. And that is what I'm going to call this script. And we got to make sure our naming conventions are correct. So let me do it like that. And this is what I'm going to call my file when I save it. Want to make sure I put my name on there. Oops, if I can spell my own name correctly. And I want to put the date on there, which today is 10/16. And I'm going to want to put a quick description. And so this script will read in data, convert to units, and plot the results. That is what we're going to do for the script. So now that we've got our nice, perfect header, we are going to want to put in our cleanup commands. That way, whenever we run the script, things start off nice and fresh. And so we're going to type clear. We're going to type CLC for clear the command window. And we're going to, there was one more thing that I put in there. Let me double check what that was. Yes. The last one we're going to put in is close all. So now we've got our nice and fresh script. That way, every time we run it, it'll behave nicely. Okay, there's still a question. Oh, thank you, Keith. You found the answer before I did. There's a question on someone has their file on the virtual classroom desktop and in the files, but MATLAB won't see it. Is your MATLAB pointed to the folder that you think it is? Are you checking this top part up here to make sure this is the folder that you expect to see your file in? Can you see my cursor?
Yeah, I can see it. I'm pretty sure it is directed towards that.
See, there's a suggestion to say drag it into the folder section from the desktop and into the classroom. Can you try that?
Yeah, that's normally how I do it as well, is just drag it so that I can actually see my program and my CSV file in the same folder.
Well, it's in the right folder, just like it won't open. Like it's where the.
So you see it on the left in the current folder section?
Oh yeah, I think it's working now.
If you see it on the left, that is where we want it to be. We are actually almost at the step where we are going to read it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And so now that we are going to read it, we're going to want to use a new command that has not been in the textbook. This is brand new. And so this is going to be the array I store the data in. And this is the command right here. It is called read matrix. And it's a very popular one, which is why MATLAB tried to autofill it for me. And since I only have one file in this folder, it wants to autocomplete that file as well. So I'll press tab, which is, it is very nice for helping to save me time typing. And very important, don't forget your semicolons. Otherwise, when you click run, you're going to see a hot mess in the command window. So we have read in our data. And I also want to be good with commenting in my code. This is something that everyone always struggles with, even seasoned professionals, and you want to make it clear what you're doing. And so data is composed of years and temperatures, because we already have looked at our file. We'll pretend we did. Years and temperatures. And we will come back to this after we read it in. That way we can make it more explicit how the array is organized. But we have our data in there, and it's going to read in there. And just so that you can see what we're going to be doing, I'm going to click run. And as I called it in my header, I want to make that nice and consistent. And so we are going to call it the same thing we called it in our header, Fort Collins temps. And so it's nice and saved. We're going to run it. And do you see how I have data in my workspace now? That is a 126 by 2 array. That means it has 126 rows going down, and it has 2 columns. And so to kind of explore this data, I'm going to double click it down here, and it's going to pop up on the right here. And do you see how I have column 1 and column 2? Let's stop and critically think about this for a second. On the left, it starts at 1893, and it goes up by 1 every single time. This is our years column. On the right side, we know that since our only data is years and temperatures, we know this is temperatures. But I want to stop and ask, what units are our temperatures in? Are they in Celsius or Fahrenheit? I will wait for someone to be brave and put it into the chat. Anyone? Yeah, someone finally did it. Thank you, Corbin. All right, the units are in Celsius. And so that is something that we want to keep in mind. And this is something that we actually want to notate in our comments to ourselves. And if you are having difficulties, and just a reminder for how I got this to pop up on the right, I double-clicked data in the workspace. If you are having difficulties keeping up with me, LAs, can you try to help them out? There are some specific questions that I don't want to spend the entire class on, but if the LAs could help with this, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, but now that we have double-clicked data, we have critically examined what our data looks like. We know its shape. We know column 1 is years, and we know column 2 is temperatures in Celsius. We are going to want to notate that in our comments before we proceed. And so we want to make sure that we know that data for all rows in the first column is years. And we know, based on looking at our data, that we know data, all rows in the second column is temperatures, let me spell that correctly, in Celsius. And let me try to spell that correctly this time. All right, so now that we have made all of our nice notes to ourselves, that way if we open up our code tomorrow, we remember where we're at. We are going to move on. Now that we know we have Celsius, we want to convert this to Fahrenheit. Now this is the opposite of the examples I've been giving in class. And so we are going to want to, we know our next step is to convert temperature, I'll just spell it as temp this time, from C to F. And so if you remember that equation, that is going to be, let me use a C. We're going to call our new array Fahrenheit, excuse me. Fahrenheit. And the equation for that one is going to be, instead of 5/9 like we've been doing from Fahrenheit to Celsius, it's going to be 9/5. My cursor mixed up. So we have 9/5 times our temperatures in our data array. And so we have our data, and we know our temperatures are stored in all rows of the second column. And then at the end, we have to add 32. Now I want to pause here, and I want to ask you, do I need that dot that you should have seen in the textbook? There's a period that sometimes gets put in front of multiplication. Do I actually need that? Thank you. No, we do not need it. And the reason we do not need it is because this is a constant. If we were multiplying by another array, we would absolutely need that dot depending on the math we wanted to do. Usually, if you want to multiply the first row, first column by one number and the first row, first column by another number, you are going to want to use that dot. All right, so now that we have converted our data that is in Celsius, we have kept a reminder to ourselves about that. We've converted it to Fahrenheit. This is going to be a 126 by 1 array. It's going to be a vector, actually. And so now what we want to do is, let me double check my next step. We are going to want to actually plot it. We are ready for that step. And so we are going to plot our first plot x-axis. Let me spell that correctly. Axis is time, and that's years. And y-axis is temp in Fahrenheit. And so this is actually going to be super easy. You only need one line to get a basic plot. And that function is conveniently called plot. And so our x-axis is years. And remember, our comment in line 12 is our first column of data is years. So we are going to do that. Data, all rows, first column is our x-axis. And our y-axis, we don't want Celsius this time. We want to plot in Fahrenheit. We are going to actually call our thing. I don't know why it says face alpha, but this is all we have to do is that. So all we have to do now is we have to save it and click run. And notice how I did not put the semicolon, but for the conversion to Fahrenheit, and it popped out all the temperatures in my command window. If you are proofreading your code, that will be helpful. If you are just trying to run your script and make a bunch of plots, that is going to be a waste of memory. And so you will want to put your semicolon here. I will do that so it doesn't have to spit it out again, and I will save it again. But if you notice, we plotted our data in Fahrenheit, and you can see it popped up on the right. This is our very first MATLAB plot. Super exciting. And so what you are going to do for your homework is you're going to follow these steps, and then you are also going to want to read chapter 10 to learn how to put axis labels on. And a good axis label always has units, always, always, always. And you are going to want to label the x-axis years, and you're going to want to label the y-axis in temperature, and you are going to want to specify whether you have plotted Celsius or Fahrenheit. Because if you just give this plot to someone else, they're gonna be like, what am I looking at? And so another great thing to put on there is a title, where you can say time series of the global average temperature of Fort Collins from 1893 to 2018. You want to have a nice specific title that shows what the line is, and you're going to want to label your axes again with units. All right. How are we feeling about MATLAB? This is what I wanted to cover today. These steps are all outlined in the slides that will get posted. And yeah, you guys have made your first plot if you were following along with me. All right. So with that, let's go back to our slides. Let me pull that up. All right. Now I will scroll through these really quickly. I've kind of skipped a few steps, but you can see that I have labeled step by step what you need to do as you do this on your own. And on this slide, as a bonus, if you are feeling super comfortable with MATLAB, or if you feel like you need a ton more practice, I have given you a few sample questions that you can try on your own. This is not homework. This is just if you are feeling ambitious and you are feeling excited, you have coding fever, here are some things that you can try. So let's move on from MATLAB and let's talk about stage 4. All right, so stage 4 is the gist of it is, oh my gosh, here we go, is that stage 4 is the rough draft of your report, and you are going to be picking 2 of the 3 design ideas that you started to analyze for stage 3. You are going to pick 2 of them, and you're going to really flesh those out, really make them stellar and stand out. And you are going to use your specifications as your grading rubric, and you're going to pick which of those solutions is the best idea. And you are going to clearly state why you think it's the best solution in your conclusions in your report. So that's the gist of it. For more specific details, go to Canvas. And then don't forget to fill out your team health assessments. And I want to make it abundantly clear that we want really thoughtful reflection in these team health assessments. We want you to identify like some things that are going super great. You're like, my group is amazing because of XYZ. And then you also want to put critical or constructive criticism in there as well. You're like, so-and-so is a great partner, but I wish they would be more prompt with their side of the work. And then you also want to turn that constructive criticism on yourself as well. And you can say, I have been trying my best, but I recognize that I respond to emails too slowly. You want to give really specific feedback on how you feel your team is doing. And so that's all I'm going to say for stage 4 for now. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions. And now we are going to go to tips. All right. Now the first tip I have is don't procrastinate. Keep working on this every single day. Don't just save it for weekends. Get some progress done before the weekends. And I want you to have a full draft report by the time you meet with me for your stage 4 meetings. That way I can give the best feedback. And then make sure you ask for help. Everyone is willing to help. And then I want you to have fun with it. You guys are engineers because this is exciting. And you guys have been learning new tools, and this project is the perfect place to go above and beyond and really embrace those new skills that you have been learning this semester. With that, Bert has some advice as well.
Yeah, and we can stay with you, Ellie, doing the screen sharing. So I'm not going to show you a lot of words, but I want to give you 2 key messages when you think about stage 4, and this also applies to stage 5. So the first message, if you can flash that up, is that it's important to be able to work ahead. And the reason I say that is that what you've been doing is you've been building up something to get to a conclusion. Once you have built the things that you have done, they not only help you with your grade for that stage, but it also means you don't need to do it later. So you're at a point now where there will be groups that when they finish their stage 4 report, I will tell them, if you submit exactly the same report for stage 5, you will get this grade. And in some cases that will be sufficient, and the group will say, good, I'm done. And so you can get there. And in some cases, some of the stage 3 reports are pretty close as well. So the sooner you do things, the sooner it's all done all the way through what you're going to need to do for stage 5. And the second thing is that we're asking you to do calculations and tasks that you have probably never seen, that you haven't really learned how to do. So the key message is ask. So the learning assistants can help you, Ellie can help you, and I can help you as well. What we want you to think of this as is this is a realistic engineering exercise where you won't know everything. You will work with others, and we're there to be there for you, to help you learn to actually solve the questions that you have. So in addition to that, if we go to the next slide, the other thing I want to mention is that on Canvas, if you go to the, in the project module, there's a section called Project Overview and Resources. And if I made comments on the 7-step problem analysis process, I would really recommend that you go back and look at that video and make sure you understand what's expected. I think that video will work very well for you. Okay, that's it on that topic. I think we're ready for you to go into your groups. So when you go into your groups, the things that you should do is to sign up for a meeting, and that sign up system is there on Canvas, and it's all set up and ready for your group to sign up. So work out what day and time works best for you. Also, you want to agree the next time your group will meet. I'll be asking for that in your homework assignment that's due on Sunday night, and then start working on your stage 4 smart contract. So with that, let's get you into your groups. And you have about, you only have about 6 or 7 minutes. So you'll want to work out your dates and times as quickly as possible. So let me get you into your groups. There you go.
And I'm just going to pop through each of the rooms.
Yeah, just tell me when you want to pop out and we'll pop you somewhere else. Or I think
Right.
you're able to do it yourself.
I'll try.
Hey, Bert, I got sent to the wrong room.
Oh, well, then let's fix that. What room did I send you to?
15, I think it was.
And which room do you need to go to?
I can't remember. I think it's 16.
Let me look.
With Ricky and Luna.
Yeah. Here you go.
Also, Bert, I need to go, I believe, with Chris Bott and Max and Jake Levine.
And where did I put you?
I believe it's room number 7. I had to quit the app because my audio wasn't working. So I got
what happened. Yep, gotcha. You
perfect. Thank you.
Correctly now. Cody?
You actually be put in like group 7. I need to be in 3.
Oh, how did that happen?
I don't know. I was like, this ain't Anna's.
All right, you should be good.
All right, thank you.
Zach, did you end up in the right place?
I haven't gotten an invite anywhere yet.
Yeah, same me. I didn't get an invite yet.
16. You should be able to click on breakout rooms. It's under more, it may be at the bottom. It should be able to send you in the right place because I've put you there. Hey, Ricky.
Hey, have you posted the rubrics for the stage 3 yet?
Yeah, the feedback is there.
I don't believe our group has it.
Okay, so that's group 16. I'll double check that right now.
All right, thank you.
Yep, will do. Okay, you're getting good at this.
I finally had the option to change rooms on my own.
Yeah, I think there was something I forgot to do one time. So yes, glad that's working.
Let's see, it looks like Keith has beat me to room 3.
Yeah, you got to go to a higher number than that.
All right. Looks like room 7 is just Chris by himself.
That sounds right. Why don't you talk to him?
Yeah, let me ask how he's doing. All right. Let's see. Should probably check on room 5.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. 5 and 8 would be good ones.
Yeah.
Huron's in 8 now.
Let me join room 5.
Hi, Evelyn.
Hello.
Question? Do you have a question?
No, I meant to leave the, but I came into the main meeting. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Have a good day. Thank you.
All right, you're going to miss the last couple of minutes.
Oh, were we supposed to come in back into the
I'll
main
come
meeting?
back in a minute, so I wouldn't.
Oh, okay. Cool. I'll just stay here then.
Yeah, you're fine. I'll send an announcement. In fact, I'm sending the announcement now.
Yeah,
So
it's because me and my group finished.
you're 60 seconds ahead of everybody else. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I just want to make sure you're aware of what's happening next. And then any of you that want to stay on afterwards because you've got a question or something, feel free to do that as well. So next week, we're going to be on Zoom on Monday and Friday, and we'll have a guest speaker on Wednesday. From a homework assignment standpoint, you'll have the homework assignment that you have to do for Sunday night is a big one. The homework assignments that you'll have for Tuesday night, Thursday night will be substantially smaller because that'll give you more time to be working on stage 4 of your project as well. So that's everything that I think we need to cover for today. Good luck on working through this MATLAB exercise. Feel free to ask for help if you need it. I will also post some additional information, and It's really important to be able to do what we've been practicing, because this is really the foundation for what we're going to be doing next with MATLAB. So you want to make sure you understand all of these things. So that's it. And so feel free to hang on if you need to, and feel free to log off if you've gotten everything you need for today. Have a good weekend.